The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. I am back. You are comfortably zoned with me, the Tokin Jew, Ralph Tycho, and I'm in Alameda, California, and my only fame to claim or name to fame is that I speak with some of the most interesting people on the planet on a regular basis. And today is no exception. He's a returning guest. I really dig this guy. Sam Stith, welcome back.
Hey, bud. How you doing, Robert? Good to be back, man. Always nice talking to you. And your book. Love your book, man. It's fantastic memories for me. I was a Brooklyn Dodger fan, but hated the Giants and Yankees, but...
Well, I hated the Dodgers, and both the Dodgers and Yankees in those days, but I loved the memories of them, and all three teams evoke such terrific memories. And thank you for your compliment. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and that makes me glow. Let me tell you, because you grew up in New York City, in Harlem, as a matter of fact, and you went to a lot of the same games that I went to over the years.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit off the air about when the Giants and Dodgers moved, it seemed to affect, and even looking back, the avid Brooklyn Dodger fan far outnumbers the avid New York Giant fan. Guys like Hal Bach and I, and who are Giant fans, are few and far between. So looking for reasons for it, we were talking about Brooklyn being a community that revolved around the Dodgers. They were hurt when the Dodgers left, as was the entire city. And I think that had something to do with the decline of the city for a number of years. Am I on the right track?
You're definitely on the right track. Everybody forgot Brooklyn's the fourth largest city around at the time. Within itself, you know. And I still look at Dodger uniform, and I get excited when I see their Dodger across their chest. I still get excited. I didn't leave them, but I a lot of people did. But I stayed right with them, particularly when they would beat the Chicago White Sox in the World Series and the Yankees. I stayed a Dodger fan.
Well, even now that they're in LA, you're a Dodger fan.
Yeah, I can't get it out of my blood. It's right there. I think I should have a tattoo saying Dodger Blue.
All right. Hey, Sam, I wanted to talk to you today about a great game for Will Chamberlain in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that you were a participant in.
Yep,
he scored 100 points, and
awesome.
which was and is a remarkable feat. And coincidentally, we've talked off the air about my affinity for Cleveland Buckner, who shined bright. This guy had a great jump shot, and
unstoppable.
Right. He had like 2 years and faded away. How come that was?
Well, first of all, in that game, he got 36 points. In that game, Jim got 100. He got 36, right? But I got to give you a little history of the NBA at the time, which was really relatively new. They had what they call the Good Old Boys Network of a quota for minorities be on one team at the same time. All right, it was a quota, and I got caught up in that, right? And when you do the numbers, you follow me, it's odd man out. And it happened to me. I was odd man out when I, started counting who was on the team at the time. It was a lot of guys knew about it, particular guys like Al Adams. We talked about it. Johnny Green. We talked about it. There was a set, like college, it was a set quota on how many, African American you have on the team at the same time. And that in those days, by the way, if you're an African American, you got to play. You're not a bench rider. You follow me? Normally, you have to play. Guys, Caucasians last for 6-7 years just sitting on the bench. But at the time, they had a quota of how many. So in Cleveland, who was really popular, by the way, I love. Who really loved him? Red Holzman.
Really?
Red Holzman was a scout with the Knicks at the time, and he loved him some. He drafted. Matter of fact, he recruited Cleveland Buckner. Red Holzman. A lot of people didn't know that, but out of Jackson, he recruited him, and he funny guy. I used to tease him all the time with his accent, Southern accent. But he so there's a quota. So he got caught up in the numbers, So did I. I got caught up in the numbers.
Well, I'm glad to hear he was a likable guy because as a fan, who knows whose personality is good. I spoke to Alvin Adams about that very same topic, and he beat out a guy named Pickles Kennedy from Temple. And Kennedy was a two-sport star, and he was heavily favored to make the team. And Adams had to beat him out, being an African American. And we talked a lot about that. The same thing. Who were the guys that you were in competition for? Whitey Bell, I guess. Whitey Martin.
Well, no, Whitey Bell was there. No, what it was called? A guy named Donald Butcher. Yeah, well, I'll give you a little insight on that, right? On December 15th, I had a no-cut contract, so I wasn't concerned about getting dropped, okay? Because I came out of, ABL. So we had on the team, you follow me, we had a lot of African American. As a matter of fact, my teammate in camp was a guy named Walt Simon, right, out of the Eastern League in Rutgers.
I remember that name.
Walt Simon had no bad practice. I'm talking about he did it to Willis Reed, Willie Knowles, Johnny Green. No, so we're laughing. I said, "Oh wow, you're gonna make the team." They signed him and cut him, but God works in a lot of ways, man. Because he ended up going to ABL, and he was with the Kentucky Colonels, right, working for KFC. Right. He became a big time executive with KFC. But now, my history, oh man, he was a big guy, general manager. But now my experience on cut down did is December 15th. Right, I'm on the starting five with the New York Knickerbockers at the time. Okay, a ball player named Al Butler was with the Boston Celtics, who I played against in college with Niagara. So he was with Niagara. I played against him 2 years and I had no problem with him. Jump shooter though, my goodness, he could shoot jump shot. So when Boston cut him, my coach Eddie Donovan asked me, could I go on the inactive list for 5 games, illness here, so he could take a look at Al Butler, right? I said, no problem, coach, no problem. So when Al came, don't forget now, there's white guys on the bench who wasn't playing, but I'm starting, right? And he asked me to sit out 5 games, 10 games, 20 games. About 30 games went by, and I'm like, I didn't say no, I'm getting paid if I ain't say anything. So I was all right with that. So near the end of the year. Now, the following years when I had the problem, I had to make the team. I'm in camp, and I happen to see they traded for a ball player named Gene Shue, which was like over the hill.
Oh, yeah, from Baltimore or Washington.
Gene Shue was out of Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Now, I started counting how many minorities on the team. I said, oh, my God, I'm odd man out, right? So I go to camp, and I'm still, I know I'm better than a couple of, the guys. And near breakaway, he calls me into the office. Coach, and says, Sam, we got to let you go because, Chicago wants you to take come there. I said, I'm not going to Chicago. I'm staying here. When I went back into the dressing room, Richard Guerin, right, who was my man, and a few other players said, "You didn't get cut, did you?" I go, "Well, yeah." And a guy named Donis Butcher who took my place out of Kentucky apologized to me. He apologized to me. I said, "It's all right. I'll make it." But I ended up having a good career after that in basketball and, in my career in banking. So then
Sam, you mentioned Richie Guerin. Did he not play a lot like Havlicek?
No, Havlicek, I don't want to make a comparison, but let me tell you something. To this day, follow me on this, Ralph. To this day, we have an annual thing out here with Jerry Colangelo for Hall of Famers. And Rich was here 2 years ago, right? And he still is hurt by the 100-point game. He's still hurt, but he's actually still today. He's hurt by that game because he was embarrassed. He was a tough ball player. He guarded all the guys, Oscar, everybody, Jerry West and them. But Havlicek was more of a really a shooter, and scorer and do a lot of stuff. But no, that's not a good comparison, those two. But Richie,
is it a good comparison because they were always in both of them were always in motion.
Always in motion. Always.
Both of them, right?
Look at above. But Richie was a ex-Marine. He fight. He got 56 one game. He got 40. He was a scorer, but he was I was a very, very enjoyed playing alongside him. I could start in the backcourt with him, and so at the time that Porter hit in, then the Celtics came in with and changed the whole scheme. With you may not remember, but the Celtics had 5 black guys at one time.
I know Satch and Sam and Casey. I think the other guy might have been Willie Knowles.
Willie Knowles. Everybody that's always missed. Bill Russell. Willie Knowles' name is always missed. The Jones boys and Sat Sanders. Now,
not missed by the zigzag man. Because I lived. This is like 62, 60.
Yeah.
I lived NBA basketball and football and hockey and baseball in the summertime. So life was good growing up in New York, let me tell you.
Months later, months later, Philadelphia had 5 black guys, and they played each other. First time you had 10 black guys on the court at the same time starting.
Oh, wow. I didn't know about that game.
About a month later, Philadelphia had 5 black guys, and then the Celtics played them in Philly. 10 black guys starred.
Yeah, and now you still have a quota, but you could only have 2 white guys on a team. And no Jewish guys. Anymore. Hey, another thing, I follow you so closely on Facebook. You scouted Jabbar when he was...
he was at Powell Memorial, and we used to train at Powell Memorial. We used to practice at Powell Memorial. And I saw him, and I knew the coach, I saw him. I said, "Oh my!" He by the way, he was stumbling all over the place at the time, but he was tall. And when he was a senior, I asked, I said, "By the way, I'd like you to come and take a look at St. Bonner's. You follow me?" So he said, "Sam, I'll come up there, but I won't go there." I said, "Well, don't do me no favors that way. You follow? I don't want to waste your time." And Ralph Bunch, right, who went to UCLA, talking about UCLA.
Wow. But you had contact with him before these guys.
Oh, boy! I thought I had a hidden treasure. No one knew about this guy. He's out of St. Albans, and I lived in Harlem and Queens, and I thought I had. The coach tried to talk to him because the coach Donahue I was very close with, and but he ended up going. He was already set in his junior year, by the way, in high school, that he was going to go to UCLA. Turned out to be a whole situation. And I go one step further.
I remember him. Talking to Louis Carnesecca at St. John's, and I remember being disappointed that he was going out to L.A. And then I got stationed in California during his heyday in the Air Force, and got to watch a lot of his games. And what a thrill that was. What teams in UCLA. When the smog clears, UCLA. Anyway, Sam, tell me a little bit about your recollections. Okay, all my life, Russell Wilt. Answer that one.
Okay. First of all, for some reason, a lot of Wilt wasn't really a popular guy. All right, because fans look at him like he was, a giant among men. Now, keep in mind the teams. Russell didn't have to do anything but rebound and block shots. He was 8 deep with the Celtics. He was 8 deep with the Jones boys coming off the bench, Cousy and those guys coming off the bench. Meanwhile, the team that Chamberlain, if Chamberlain got 75 points, the rest of the team got like 30 or 40. You follow me? And they kept going to the dipper. But Russell had soldiers behind him, shooters. They used to have a thing in Boston. They would give Russell the ball 5 straight times and just say, do what you want to do with it. Just get some, whatever you want to do, shoot, whatever you want to do, just to keep him happy. Oh, he rebounded, pitch out, block shots. They wouldn't even keep him counter block shot. But Chamberlain is never mentioned as the greatest of all of them. The guy averaged 53 points a game, 26 rebounds, and 14 assists. And they wouldn't keep him block shots. And in numerous block shots, he was a mammoth. He was a scary individual, but he was a nice guy. If he wasn't nice, because a lot of guys tried to hurt him, if he wasn't nice, you follow me, it would have been a disaster. Yeah. But Russell, all he did was rebound, pitch out, right? That's it, and play defense. That's it. That was his. Don't forget, with the Celtics was role players anyway with them.
Havlicek, I'm not Havlicek, Heinsohn. I'm thinking of. Besides all those guards, they were strong up front. And
up front,
Wolf too. Gorilla.
Nelson. Nelson. You had. They were 8 deep, maybe 10. And,
right.
Great coach, Auerbach, who everybody hated because when they were winning, he'd light up a cigar on the bench.
Right. That's it. That's a little ostentatious. Like, in other words, on me. And,
yep.
But, ordinarily the fan says, well, next year they'll shove that cigar. He never.
Now, keep in mind, when Chamberlain got a team together, with with Jackson, Wally Jones. Got his team together. They won. They said it was the best team ever when he got his squad together. You follow me? Those guys, Wally, who be doing, I do a podcast with him with the Sports Inside and Out. But when he got those guys together, they beat everybody. You follow me? And that was Chamberlain.
You tell Wally that I remember that he's from Overbrook High School.
That's right. Him, Walt Hazzard from Overbrook.
Yeah, absolutely. And Craig Pearson, too, who was a guard on one of those teams. And a team doctor in spring training for the Cubs and the A's for many years. My old campmate, the late Craig Pearson of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But
Russell used to have Chamberlain come by his house for dinner before a game, right? So everybody said he would soften him up so he wouldn't hurt him, But it depends on who you're playing with. Like you get on the right. You got to be on the right team, Ralph. But he was on it. But when Chamberlain got those guys, Luke Jackson and them. My goodness, they were the terror of the league. It lasted on like 1 year, though, so everybody looked. Now, here's another thing. Keep this in mind. They won 11 games, 11 championships, right? Keep in mind, everybody forgetting, I remind people, there was only 8 teams in the league.
Right.
At that time.
And 10 players.
But keep in mind, it was lukewarm. The only people who gave them a tough time were the St. Louis Hawks, you follow me, and the Syracuse Nats. That was it. But it was only 8 teams. in the league, and you saw the same team. Let me give you the Knicks schedule. Monday night, Boston with Russell Crew. Tuesday night, Oscar Robertson. Thursday night, Elgin Baylor. Friday night, a guy named Dolph Shays. Saturday, you got Elgin Baylor and West and those guys. Then you get into Chicago with Walt Bellamy at the time.
There's the name I want to talk about, Walt Bellamy.
Walt Bellamy.
Did your paths cross with the Knicks at all?
Yeah, I played against him. He was in Chicago.
Okay. Give me some Walt Bellamy stories, because I thought he would turn around the Knicks, and really did before Reed and those guys was traded for DeBusschere and all that.
Yeah.
Give me some Walt Bellamy.
Walt Bellamy was by the way, he gave Chamberlain a tough time when he guarded him. Gave him a tough. The guy who gave him the most was Thurman out there in San Francisco. He gave Chamberlain the toughest time. Walt Bellamy right up there. Walt Bellamy could shoot outside, inside. Unbelievable ball player. But when you're playing with a losing team, everybody, take note that you're not that good. But Walt held his own against everybody. You follow me? And don't forget, there were centers in those days, and he was a big-time center. As a matter of fact, years later, I played an All-Star game with him and at Bryant in Jersey. But one of the great guys. You follow me? Matter of fact, he became a big time with Atlanta. With they got a name for it. I can't think of the name of it. But Bell, call him Bells, man. He was some kind of player. A little 15-foot jump shot, rebound, everything. Let's go back to Chamber.
Number 8.
Got mad one time. Chamber got mad one time when they said all you do is shoot. So 1 year he led the league in assists.
Right.
1 year led the league in assists. All he could do was dunk. If you ever saw that 100-point game, he was shooting fadeaway jump shots off the backboard. Let me tell you a little something else. You probably know this. He was the worst foul shooter in the league at that time. Worst foul shooter. Don't want to go to the foul line. I had to go and foul this guy intentionally, which is heartbreak. In Hershey, Pennsylvania, he went 28 for 32. Now, he used to get fouled a lot. Now, he's averaging 53 points a game. He misses like 15 to 18 foul shots a game. If he'd have made those, he would average over 70.
And he still comes up with 50.
Absolutely.
Wow.
With 53, missing 18 foul shots and averaging 53 points a game. Unbelievable. But he was like, George Mikan played back in the day, way back in basketball. And I read his book. I read his book one time. He said he got so hurt and cried when the lady looked at him and says, "My son is in the army fighting the war, and you don't go in because you're tall." People look at him like this. I read that. It hurt him. To the day he died. But Chamberlain versus Russell
puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah. You look at the reality. What can you do? But Chamberlain. I go one step further to jump off the topic. Kareem was not a popular player in the league with his peers. Certain guys have that thing about them that people misunderstand them. I'll be honest with you. I was shocked when Will died. I'm trying to think. He was I was shocked when he died. But obviously, I knew him. You follow me? And he used to be up at his, Wilt's place all the time. But him against Russell was no match because of who he had. And the self-killer thing, stop Wilt. You follow me? No, don't stop him.
You say Kareem, and I ask you, Kareem against Wilt. How would that compare?
Well, okay. Kareem won. Wilt was his hero. Well, they were in the beginning. Kareem looked up to Wilt. You follow me? He sort of really looked up to Wilt, to a degree. But on the court, you're looking at two different kind of people. Will was on his way out. You think about it, right? He was still dunking over everybody. And then Kareem came with that sky hook, unblockable. But later on, you follow me? Later on, they something happened. I didn't even go into it, but something happened that they sort of stopped talking, So,
yeah.
But
may I just guess? It might be a very pretty woman.
Oh, but a woman?
Was it? My guess would have been when you said something happened. My first thought, there might have been a pretty woman involved. That's all. You don't have to answer.
I think Kareem said something about Wilt that hurt his feelings. All right. I'm not going to go into that, but right now,
then I'm wrong.
Wilt was on his sort of he didn't have any down years, by the way, Wilt. He didn't have any down years. And by the way, if I forgot something, he's a hell of a sand volleyball player.
Boy, he could have been in the Olympics playing volleyball.
He could have played football. He could have played football. He could have any sport.
And track. He ran around the track. He might have been the best athlete ever seen.
And no one talk. Let me tell you when he got mad. Okay, let me tell you when he got mad. Ball player named Clyde Leveillette, right, out of that racers team on, right?
Yeah.
Clyde Leveillette. He's on the foul line and said something to Wilt, and it's the worst thing he could have did because he saw God coming. Wilt went after him and hit him in his forehead. You follow me? And he dropped to the ground, out. And the place is quiet. They don't know what to do. Another player who was a friend of mine, Sam Jones. Okay, I do we're doing the NBA cruises, right? And I'm sitting there with Sam, and I said, "Let me ask you a question. What did Wilt say to you when you grabbed that three-legged stool to go after him?" he said, "I'll make you eat it." I said, "Oh, okay. Were you crazy?" I was hoping somebody would grab me, man. If they don't grab me, I die.
Yeah.
The team grabbed him.
Clyde Leveillette, we're talking about one of the widest human beings. He was probably 6'10", maybe.
Yeah, big old lumbering guy,
Boy, he's the biggest guy. It's not like Wilt is picking on. Yeah.
I tell you another ball player, Jim Loskatoff, right? I'm going to tell you a quick story about Jim Loskatoff with the Celtics. And his role was to come in and beat you up. That was his only role, to beat you up. You follow me? Beat you up, okay?
Hatchet.
Hatchet. And we're in Vegas for our conference, and I'm with Joe Roberts, who played Ohio State, and Joe sees him, and I see him, and he could hardly walk. He's like 80-some years old. He had a walker with his wife holding on to him. And Joe says to me, "I want to go over there and kick his butt." I go, "Joe, what are you talking?" He says, and he was serious. I go, "Look at the guy. He can hardly walk." He says, he when I was a rookie with Syracuse, he hit Dolph Shades, and I went to him and says, "What are you doing? You can't hit Dolph." And he cursed me out, called me all of the names. I said, "Well, you still want to go hit him, huh?" He go, "I feel like going over there right now, Sam." I go, "Well,
come with me, Sam."
Unbelievable. But he's a man. But now we should catch some nights and beat them, but not a lot, not a lot.
Sam, who greased the way for you, and who made it difficult for you?
Who, me playing?
No, yeah. When you played, you specifically, who greased the way for you a little bit, if you will, and who made it difficult? Who are those two people?
Okay, well, Red Holzman told me something in my first year in the camp. He says, "You're not going to stop Oscar. You're not going to stop Jerry, but let them know you're in the game." Okay? And I played against Oscar in college. And those two, Jerry West and Oscar Robertson, I didn't want to really do something to them because I know they wouldn't do to me. You know. Mm-hmm. But because I stole the ball off Oscar one time, ran the deep corner, made what would be called a 3 today, and the look he gave me, like that's the last time. He just made me look foolish out there. But Jerry West, I was a big fan of Jerry West. Big fan. They told me Jerry West fakes twice before he shoot. I'm guarding him. I counted 1, 2, and the third time I heard and 1. You know, but those, but those two, it was tough guarding them. You follow me? So,
okay.
And the Jones boys, I very similar with the Jones because the Jones was coming off the bench at the time, and I was starting, so I really didn't. Well, I do have a Sam Jones story again. I asked Lee Jones, who was ref in the NBA for 25 years. I said, Lee, let me ask you a question: is the following trash talk what Sam would do? Russell set a pick, and Sam run you into Russell, right? So you're trying to get around Russell, and when you get around, Sam Jones hasn't shot yet. He wishes you get there, and he shoots on the backboard and go too late. And I said, you're fighting to get around the pick, and as soon as you get to him, he's waiting for you.
Yeah.
He was off the backboard and says, too late.
Well,
and I said, that's trash talking, technical foul, Sam.
You're a reader, and Jerry Feinstein wrote a book about Red Auerbach that Sam is featured in because they both lived in Washington, and they both meet for this Tuesday meeting at a Chinese restaurant. And Feinstein would follow them around to these meetings and just absorb stories and what have you. So I'm just saying, if you or any of the listeners, I can't remember the name of that book, but I thought Sam was terrific.
Oh my goodness, something else.
I worship the Celtics. They were so deep and so quick and so well rehearsed. And you say, Russell, he'd rebound and get the ball to half court, out. That may not sound like much, but
the Celtics. Let me tell you something. In the NBA back in those days, after the season, Ralph, you go get a job because of the money. 6 months, you get paid for 6 months. After that, you gotta get a job, right? So you get a job. So what happened is during the summertime, you don't really work out. So you come to camp to get in shape. You follow me? The Celtics came to the camp in shape. If you came out of shape, you had a problem with our back. They came to camp. So the other guys, we all after the season over March 15th, March 16th, we got a job. Everybody was work except Chamberlain and Robinson. But you had a job, like let's say 9 to 5 job, right? So
Harrison had a job with IBM all those years.
Yep. Like I was trained in banking, but came. The good news I used to do the camps up in the mountain with Johnny Green and Willie Knowles. But come September for camp, guys come to get in shape, huffing and puffing. Celtics came to camp in shape. So what they do? Run off the first 15 games. Now they're 15-0 already because they're in shape. They're running. You huffing and puffing.
And that'll carry you the rest of the season if you stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
nobody.
The 100-point game, the guy who bothered me the most in that game was the announcer, Zinkoff. You know that name? I
do. He was a Philadelphia guy.
Zinkoff was the announcer. He was the announcer. And what he would do, he would go, Chamberlain 70, yelling it out. Chamberlain 80, and he's screaming to his lungs, right? Chamberlain 90. And everybody like, well, he shut up, right? Chamberlain 95, all right? Now, let me tell you a little inside stuff here, right? Give you a little inside information. John McClendon, when I was with him, said the following: if you're talking about yourself now, it's bragging. Later on, you're telling a story when you're talking about things, right? Let me give you a little inside information here. A lot of Warriors did not want him to get the 100. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His teammates. Few of them did not want him to get the 100. There was one player that was on the bench named Joe Rutledge.
He played about 2 minutes a game, and he wouldn't even shower at the end of the game. They just walk out. But go ahead.
Chamberlain was friendly with Chamberlain. Chamberlain told the coach, put Joe in, because he knows Joe will give him the ball for the 100-point. He put Joe in just to get the ball to Chamberlain, who got the 100. Joe Rutledge. Yeah. Now, a disturbing thing.
Who didn't want him to get it?
Huh?
Who did not want him to get it?
I'm not going to name the names, but a
Okay.
few of them didn't want him to get the 100 because he was. You got to understand, when you're playing with somebody, sometimes all they do is taking all the shots. You don't get a play. You're an afterthought. It can be jealousy there. Let me say something, Ralph, that I can tell you something. In New York, they have all these Hall of Fames. Not to veer off the Chamberlain story. All these Hall of Fames, Brooklyn, USA, New York City Hall of Fame. And the first ones in was like Lenny Wilkins, Tommy Davis.
Yes,
and
from Boys High.
They never put Tom and me in those Hall of Fames for years, zero. And finally, they put Tom in, and I'm still not in Brooklyn. But this was told to me twice in 1 year that a lot of people was jealous of me and my brother because we went to a private high school and a private college. Okay? Now, they don't know about the whole story here. We went to private high school, first African Americans there. What do? We brought in other African American kids. St. Bonnie's. What do? Well, St. Bonnie, Fred Crawford, Bob Lanier. We opened the door for others to come. Wallace Young said this on a thing we used to do every Saturday morning. He mentioned that. He said the reason he was able to go to Villanova because of Tom and me. They overlooked that. But so if you got a team like Chamberlain scoring 50 points a game and taking 40 shots or 30 shots, and you don't get no play and you're used to shooting, a little animosity there. And that's one of the reasons why they did not win. They did not win because they had that problem. Now, when they got guys like Luke Jackson, them like that, who wanted to win at any cost and who were players, Chet Walker, right? When they got guys, and then but Chamberlain realized, wait a minute, they can play. They can play. So
that was an interesting mix. They kept Larry Costello from those days.
Oh, man.
And could that guy shoot or what?
He been coaching championship team with Lou Alcindor, and that's he coached the championship team in Milwaukee. But what bothers you is that when you're seeing guys like today, right? Today, guys making $3 million a year and can't shoot a foul shot. Unbelievable. And won't act. With the Knicks, I asked Dick Marley at one time. We were driving after the game. I said, let me ask you a question. How come Dean Manager can't shoot a jump shot with you there and Bradley? He says, he don't ask. I went, oh, wow. Then I asked myself, why wouldn't he ask? Because I asked Red Holzman about me playing NBA defense instead of college. I stayed after practice. But today, let me give an example. Houston, Dwayne Howard was with Houston. Terrible. One of the worst foul shooters in basketball history. You know who the announcer is for the Houston Rockets? Who was a 98% foul shooter in the pros? Calvin Murphy.
Calvin, you're right. Who was the tennis player? Calvin Murphy. No. He lifted this goes. He was a baton whirler. Right. There was another guard that.
You're talking about. I know he's still hanging around.
He had some nose problems.
He's still around. But
okay.
What happened is that I caught him on the ship one time. By the way, to my wife, he was a state champion. He said, Sam, national champion.
Right.
You know,
and he was the first of the really little guys. Muggsy came later, but Calvin was first.
To do it all.
And he had a big center at that time too. So anytime you get a combination of a little guy and a center, I can't think of the center's name right now.
Big and little. But the time with that, you had players around you that you have. I'll give you an example. Michael Jordan, right? How many players would throw a ball to Steve Kerr in a crucial moment? He threw it to win a champion game. You follow me? Craig Hodges. How many guys? So when he gave it to them, and they made the shot, if they miss, he don't give them the ball back. You follow me? Right. Once you get that attitude about I trust Ralph, I trust Joe, I trust guys, I have no problem. Because I'm not the only one who can score. They don't win championship. Luke Jackson's.
And that Philadelphia team is a good example. They were loaded, but they shared the ball. Everybody. So Chamberlain had averaged 50 points a game. Then keep that in mind, right? He averaged 30-some points. He didn't average 50 because he had to get 50. He had enough about as coach. I'm a big fan of coaching. One of my favorites, Alex Hannum. But Alex Hannum one time, and tell you what kind of guy he is, right? Chamberlain did something he wasn't too happy with in the game, and after the game, Hannum says to Will, "You want to take this outside?" To where you says to Will,
"You want to take this outside?" He's gonna fight him.
That's the coach.
Fight him. He's going to fight him because he was mad. And, Chamberlain laughed it off. But Hannah would have lost in 2 seconds. But I'm saying that's the kind of guy he was.
I remember they were going to build Wilt against Ali.
That was a big publicity. That was a big publicity thing.
I'm sure it was publicity, but if you look at that publicity fight, Ali would have to get into Wilt, and that wasn't going to be easy. That although Ali would have found out,
he'd have ran around the way.
Right, he'd have ran. It's so quick, Wilt would have gone. Whoa! Can we make this a perpetual? Wait till next time.
I'm available. God will. I'm available.
And that is music to my ears because I will make you available. You are.
Let me know. Use me anytime you want.
You are just.
I got people buying your book too.
Beautiful. Please enjoy the book. That makes me happy.
Let me tell you. On another note, the guy that I do some stuff with, Rotary and stuff, diehard New York Giant fan. So when I got to give a talk, he's got a group, a Rotary group. All of them are New York Giant baseball. So when I say my speech, right, the first thing I say, let me get this straight. Duke Snyder was the best center fielder in New York, and they boo me. But he is he's going to get this book. He is a die-hard Giant. They didn't go to travel to San Francisco now to see the Giants. So
you tell him to get in touch. You tell him to get in touch with me, and let's do a podcast.
Oh, okay. He's an ideal guy. I'll give him your information. Is this how do I contact you? This number here, because it's just the only number.
Well, we'll talk about that off the air.
Okay, let me know. In the meantime, I appreciate you having me. I like to go back down memory lane because so many memories have been around so long, man. Ralph, unbelievable. And
we can't let them die because our memories are all we have.
And they're forever.
Right. And I just, you were talking about your work ethic, and I know a little bit about you. Mention your aunt. Is it your aunt? No, it's your sister that helped raise you.
Yeah, most of my sisters. Matter of fact, right now there's 2 documentaries coming out on me and Tom. One is coming out in May, and one is coming out next 3 weeks with Sports Inside and Out with Walter Jones. They're doing a whole history of my brother and me. And then Other one is a Bonaventure thing, like our history. If you want to go on Stith, STITH Memorial, what did they call it? It was an awards thing, Stith Memorial. What they did is they got a mural of Tom and me in front of the arena of our history, and they unveiled it. The Stith Memorial Unveiling. That's what it's called.
Nice.
Stith Memorial Unveiling. And after Tom and I got, then they got one with Freddie next to us, Freddie Crawford.
Well, we talked about Tom a lot on the first podcast we did together. And if anyone is interested, all of our offerings are archived on YouTube. Just go to Comfortably Zoned, and you'll catch them. It is a pleasure and an honor to be your friend.
Same here, I appreciate you, man. Have a nice weekend. Talk to you soon.
You too, my friend. Adios, and thank you for listening. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I am Ralph Tycho, the Wandering Jew, the Tokin Jew, your friend out there. Catch you next time. Over and out, and happy trails.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices, and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.